So welcome to the January Power Hour. I am Tessa Chappell. I live outside Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm joined by Megan. She's out near Seattle, Washington, and she'll be joining us for the second half of the hour. We have two layouts for you tonight. The handouts were sent by email yesterday, and they will be sent again tomorrow if you are subscribed, and you all are, and then they will also get on the website later if you're checking us out on YouTube later. So all of our videos do go to YouTube eventually. They'll be emailed to the link also tomorrow. So we appreciate if you like and subscribe. It helps YouTube share us with other people who might be interested in it. So tonight we're going to do two layouts. So we can flip down to my table. There we go. There's my table. So I actually did print photos to use tonight, and then I actually backed my way into the layout I did for the demo, which is the first time I've done that. So as like many of you, we just got through winter break. I have two kids in college, and my daughter was home for all of it, but she spent about half the time with her dad. So they all did. So I had all three, the younger ones, with me this last weekend, and my birthday is coming up later this week. And so we went out to dinner Saturday. I was like, well, we should go out for ice cream or something, right? I said, what are we gonna do for dessert? I'm like, well, we could call it for my birthday, because we wanted a little bit of justification to do that. And so I actually already printed these photos, and I wanted to go ahead and scrap them because they make me laugh a little bit. So I don't know how many of you have teenagers. I don't know most of us taking pictures. You know, on the iPhone and probably the Droid, the zoom is usually at 1x, right? And most of us will enlarge to go bigger to zoom in on a photo. My kids love to go to 0.5. Like, it is a thing to take pictures on 0.5. I don't know if any of you guys, tell me in the chat if you have heard of this, because that's what my kids do all the time. And it adds this different kind of look to the photo, because it gets real, it's just a weird look. And so the funny part of this night, we went for ice cream, is that I gave my camera to Emerson just to take one group photo. That's all I was looking for, just take a group photo. And I ended up with all these other silly photos that she and Emerson took, or she and Campbell took, with the 0.5. And there's a few other details I wanted to make sure that I go ahead and journal. So I printed these on the Epson picture mate that Megan and I both have, and I went to print short term. So I do have all these photos. It really wasn't worth a 2-page layout though. So I am using a fair amount of peekaboo pockets. In my demo layout, I'll show you the base. Basically, we're creating this base page because I needed room to put on, I have 4x2, 3, and then a 4x4. So I have 3 4x6 and a 4x4. And so I needed a layout that would accommodate that. And then I'll use peekaboo pockets.
Tessa, how do I get just your screen? How do I get?
If you don't see Tessa's screen as spotlight, you may need to sign out and then come back in. She should be spotlighted for everybody.
So when I was choosing papers too, it's not really my birthday, but I wanted something a little bit fancier to use. So I pulled out I think, is this good time? I'm gonna blank now that I'm on camera. It has this stripe in here, so I wanted a little bit of the statement stripe. And then I'm debating, and the handout, I use both sides of the paper. So I have this side, I'm gonna cut it and see how it goes. And if not, I really like this paper. It has some foiling to it, so it adds a little bit of celebration to the layout. And then I pulled out a few embellishments to play with. And then for my cardstock, I chose Parakeet Shimmer for the border part. And then I have Starry Night Shimmer to use for my mat. So for the layout, you'll want your trimmer, and then you'll need some sort of edger border punch or an edger border maker cartridge to use. I do suggest a double-sided paper. It just allows you to use a full paper for the layout. However, if you don't have one where you like both sides, you can definitely use different papers for this. And that's what my decision point will be after I cut this and lay it out and see how it goes. So I am going to cut off two 2-inch strips. That is what I put in my hand out. Yep, 2 2-inch strips. That's gonna leave me an 8-inch piece for the middle. So I can leave that as my center. I'll have the 2 strips for the top. We'll paper weld them into one piece. And then when I choose my punch and the cardstock, I'm gonna be adding in a little bit of layer here when you're choosing your colors. So I need to decide, am I okay with this as my base? Or do I want to use this fun one with foiling? What do you guys think? I'm really torn. I don't know what else I would use this paper for. It does have a little bit of foiling. It has a little bit of shape that kind of curved it.
Put your photos on there
The photos, okay.
so we can see. I think I'm gonna like that because then you can use, maybe you can use the foiling for the mats.
Yeah, I have the starry shimmer too.
Yeah, I think I like that with the, because otherwise you need to be able to cut all that background paper up to make mats, the crafty mats.
Okay.
So this one you can go with the starry shimmer for your mats.
Okay, so we'll do this one. Okay, so then the second decision point is to choose my punch. So I pulled out 3 order maker cartridges to choose from. I have the picket fence, so that's a solid choice. Most of us have. If I use picket fence, I would only show the little bit of a point, right? So I'm just going to see a little bit of a zigzag, or yeah, zigzag there. This is the one I think I thought I wanted to use, and this is a zigzag one from old CM. And then we have Sunshine Arches, which is a solid favorite of mine. And it does kind of reminiscent of a cone. It has kind of a circular shape. So I think I'm kind of leaning towards this one actually, because this paper does have that little half moon shape to the flex, and it would be replicated in the sunshine.
My only thing about that one is it going to show off well with the stripes?
That's true. You're going to kind of lose the stripe in the stripes, aren't you?
But can you, if you really wanted to make this a little bit more elaborate, you could add half circles behind it.
That would be extra fancy. That would be cute. Maybe I should go with that. And I could pull out the circle punch. Does the circle punch fit it? Have you done that?
I don't know, but start punching and I'll tell you.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to punch 2 borders with the Sunshine Arches. Oh, the cloud. Yeah, the cloud would have been good too for ice cream. Parakeet shimmer. It's one of my favorite greens. Even with the shimmer, I use it for a lot of things because I like the tone of it. Kind of a pesto color, I like. We were trying to decide where to go for dessert. The kids were like, "What's your favorite dessert?" And in the end, I think we really wanted to go get like a cookie skillet, but we'd already been at a sit-down restaurant, and so I was like, I don't want to go to another one for dessert. So that's how we ended up actually getting the ice cream. You only need to cut these wide enough to layer. So I set 1.5 inches on the handout. You could do a little bit less if you wanted to conserve paper.
I am happy to report that you can use the circle punch with the Sunshine Arches.
Sunshine, okay, that's what I'll
Yep.
do. I can pull out my scraps. So it will lay out when I'm going to adhere this all together, and this is how it will look at the top. And then like Megan's suggesting, I will, before I adhere this down completely, I will go find my circle maker. So the next step is to adhere this middle 8-inch part on top of my borders. I gave myself plenty of space, so I can use regular tape, mini tape, whatever tape you want to do. I'm going to use regular tape just so it has a stronger hold since I'm piecing it together. I'm using the mat so I can look at the markings at the top and the bottom. I don't think I actually have my borders. Do the other side. Megan and I are both Creative Memories advisors. So if you're new to Creative Memories, you're welcome to shop with either of us. All the punches we use are from Creative Memories. Order system is a great way to start, and most of the people on this could tell you they're very addicting. Once you have a few of them, they're really fun to collect and have all the options. I really need to get myself down to one mat. You can see that I'm going to piece together. I don't have a lot of room. This is really going to be a paper weld from the back up, but you can see how it will look from the front. So I'm going to have to pause here for a second. I'm going to show you the technique, but the reality is that if I'm going to do the circles, I'm going to have to go find my circle punch and punch some scraps before I actually adhere it down. So if I were carrying this forward right now as we speak, I would flip all my pieces. I would center this on my mat or a ruler or some way. You're going to have to create a 12 by 12 base with your paper welding. So I look over here at my markings, you know, I'm like 1 down from the 1 inch, 1 up from the 1 inch. And then you're going to want to lay your 2-inch piece across the top line. And then there are several different ways that you can actually put these together. I found some of my old photo tape. And so I actually used that up on the demo. We actually do have photo tape once again in Creative Memory. So I was like, well, I should go ahead and use all my old stuff now that I don't have to hoard it for every possible option. And the way that photo tape works is you just cut off however long of a strip that you want. It's double-sided, but when I put this down here, I would not pull up the paper. I would just let it sit and then I would flip it over and be done with it. We also have tape chips, also known as photo splits, that I think I buried. Yeah, I buried them. They work like photo splits. You could put them down, or you can do, I know Megan has several videos too. You can use a piece of cardstock or something to tape down. So we would paper weld that together and flip it over. And I would have my base paper. And then when it comes to putting down my photos, I would mat all of these. I went ahead and did some peekaboos just so I wouldn't forget where we're going. at the bottom, and these are gonna have to come up a little bit.
She sure looks like you, Tessa.
She does, I know.
Yes, she
Emerson,
does.
a lot of people say that she looks a lot like me. Then there's Campbell who looks differently with her red hair. So yeah, I think the starry shimmer probably is the best thing to
The
do.
host muted me.
Why?
I don't know.
And then when I do mats on something like this, I really just want a little bit of a mat to offer differentiation between the photo and the paper. And so I usually just do a 1/4 inch mat. So it gives me about 1/8 of an inch. It's real thin around each side. I want to be able to see as much of the design in the background as I can. So this is a 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 on a 4 by 6 photo, and you can see it's a real thin mat design. I don't even know if I'm going to see a whole lot of my circles because these either top or bottom, these are going to have to come up to here. So these will have to come up to here. I'm not going to get a ton of effect of it. A little bit will seep through. I will probably put my journaling under here. So when you do lift it, I could just do a smaller journal box instead of doing the whole 4 by 4. And then you would see them when I pop that up. And these two down here will have photos underneath them. And then I just have a little bit of space to accent. And one thing I thought I would do, I didn't want to do birthday cake because we weren't having cake, but I thought I could just punch. This is the photography chain that just sold out in December. But this is a good one. You can just
No,
cut out
I'll
a
be
little,
downtown I have to be down there.
I thought I could punch a little bit of photography chain and put these down the edge just to kind of highlight the story of the phone camera and the pictures I got from this. So yeah, I'll talk about peekaboos for a minute. So we have 4 by 6 peekaboos, and there's 2 orientations. There's one where it's a horizontal, and it has the flap is on the long side here. And this one is a vertical, so the flap is along the short side. And I have one of each because it's all I have left. And I don't want to open a new pack in case my customers want them this weekend. And so I will probably switch one of these out. If I will adhere one photo to the page, and then I'm going to slide this into my top loading or put my page protector on, and then I will put the peekaboo on top. So this will go on top of my page and it will flap like this. If I kept them both this way, I would attach it here and it could flip up, or I could shift my photos in it and I could flip down. The other fun thing about peekaboos, and you know what I could do actually, if I wanted to save some room in this layout and see more room for the pictures, is I can overlap them. So if I wanted to get rid of one of the photos, I decided not to keep that photo. And it's not a great photo, but there's just part of the story with that. I'll leave that alone. So if I put this here, I put my page protector on, I could adhere this one on top, and then I could adhere this one. And it'd actually go reverse order. So I would adhere this flap right here. I would adhere this flap right here. So this one would close first, then this one would close. And so I could open this, flip this down, and I can see that photo. And that allows you to see more of your layout also. So hopefully that answers the question about using more than one. And you could, if I had more than that, I could even flip up another there and you could flip another one out. One of our power hours, I think I had 3 or 4 now. So I will play with that while we do the jumbo circle with Megan, and I will post my final layout in the group so that you guys can see the circles and how I end up leaving the layout. I think I might drop a picture, and that allows more layout room. I could decorate more. I could put the journaling on top. It does give me a few more options. I could probably trim this down and stick it underneath that, because then I wouldn't need to journal under it anymore.
Do you think you'll add a little bit more blue, use the parakeet shimmer around some of the other photos?
I will do blue matte. So every time I use peekaboos, I always matte. So I will use Starry to matte these for sure. And I need to decide if I would make a journal box and matte it on parakeet shimmer down there. This set did not come with variety matte, so I'll probably pull something together with, make my own, an accent. Do you think I should pull in more parakeet? I could also punch the cameras in parakeet. My accent. I always use page protectors or top loading. So these will go on top of that. So I would slide this whole page into the top loading or put it on the page, slide on the page protector, and then your peekaboos go on top of whatever that is. Blue for circles, that would be cute. I could just do all blue for the circles. I like that idea. And a few more cameras.
Yeah, you've got some options there to go use scraps to punch those circles. Just cut them in half, slide them under. See what you think.
Yeah, I won't make you guys wait while I go look for the circle.
You can actually see more of the sunshine arches than I thought you'd be able to.
Yeah. In person definitely can, but it will, I think it'll add a lot of good dimension to that. And it's versatile, right? It's another use for the circle punch.
Yeah, it is. Arches. I will say that I'm not, if I remember correctly, with using the sunshine arches, you can't go any smaller than the 1 3/4 inch, but if you go to 2 inch, it's a little bit harder to get them tucked in there just right. So definitely a use for that circle punch.
Yeah, I'll take some process pictures as I go and post them with the layout tomorrow, so you guys see how that looks. Since it won't be on the handout. Okay, well, I'm gonna give you rid of Megan so that we have time to do her in the round, and I'll finish this and get it posted.
I like how you said you're going to give me more time, and it's just still 5:30.
It's 8. It's 29. I didn't even go to 30. Like, I gave you an extra minute.
You gave me an extra minute. Thanks. So let's see here. All right. So I'm going to talk for 30 seconds here and make it so I can show Tessa we can do this in 30 minutes. Actually, what I want to talk about is just real quickly is a couple of things. If you have already marked your circle, that's great. You're going to be all set to follow along. If you have not marked your jumbo circle, and just so you guys know, if you didn't catch it earlier in the broadcast, this QR code right down here will take you to all the information you need about how to mark your jumbo circles. It leads you to a page on my website at megganjax.com that will have all of my jumbo circle tutorials. So it's actually a great place to have reference, but you will see a separate handout on this webpage that talks about marking the jumbo circle. I have the jumbo circle marked because it makes it easier to place, to center on a piece of paper. If you have those things marked, it's useful anytime you want to do anything in the round. The thing what you're doing when you're marking the jumbo circle is you are placing even spacing all the way around, which is super helpful when we're going to be doing this layout, and also when you want to punch in the round so that you know precisely where to make your cuts and they're evenly spaced all the way around. So, all right, I will go ahead and switch over here now to my table and we'll take a look at the project. So the project, this is the sample I made up that we wanted to show something using the bee punch. That was what Tessa and I talked about for her class, her work, her event this weekend. Wanting to showcase the bee punch, a kind of spring fun airy, but keeping it with the meant to be. We're heading into the Valentine's Day season. It would have been easy to work in some little cute red hearts in here as well, and just kind of go with the a little bit more of a lovey theme there. So I have other samples I have done of in the round. It started off with the reindeer a couple of years ago, also doing the sleigh. You can find links to those via this QR code will take you to my Jumbo Circle playlist. And so going forth there, for any of you who are not able to access the QR code for whatever reason, we will make sure that the link to that all gets shared. I'm not able to take care of that right now. So we will make sure that it gets shared so you guys can access that. The PDFs can sometimes be hard with how you share links. So the layout here, what you're going to want is just 2 pieces of paper, a third paper if you want to do an accent. So you can see here, I used a background paper this is from the Vivid Melodies, the Buttercup papers. I also use a tonal paper, and that's what I cut my circle from. Depending on your paper, you might like the backside of your paper. The backside to this tonal yellow, which I really love that golden yellow. I thought it was perfect for the bees. I wanted a nice contrast. I wanted a nice contrast between my background paper and here because I want my silhouettes to show up, be nice and contrasty. But the backside was this multi-pattern, higher contrast between the yellows and the greens. It was not going to work well for my bees here. So I decided to stick with kind of the black and yellow theme and just use some black shimmer paper. So that's what I used here. For my layout tonight, I am actually going to be using the rubber duck punch. I will also be using the You Quack Me Up papers. So I picked out 2 papers. I'm going to use, this is kind of going for, as you can kind of maybe imagine, like a bath, a baby bath. It's actually, I have pictures. I'm not going to show them to you, but I have some pictures of my kids when they were playing in the bathtub. They're teens right now, and they're not real happy when I show like pictures of them that, they're bath time ready. So I won't show you the pictures, but I have this bubbles background paper. And then I have this really nice blue. It's got a pattern to it. You can kind of see there a little bit of wave, but overall it's fairly tonal, not a lot going on. My duck silhouette should show nicely between these 2 contrasting. Maybe you're going to use cardstock, but you just want to make sure that you have a nice contrast between the back paper and the front paper. Now I'm going to be lucky on this one. The back side also has good contrast for here. So when I punch my ducks, I will actually be able to punch my ducks, flip them over, and be able to use what I punched out here. I couldn't do that with this paper. That the backside of this golden was not a right pattern. It was going to look weird with the bees, so I had to use a separate piece of paper. So depending on what you're doing, you might be able to use what you punch out, flip it over and use the reverse side. I'll be able to do that here, or you can punch something else, a different paper with this. So before we dive too far into that, I want to talk about the different types of punches that you can use. This should work. The spacing I'm giving you guys tonight should work with all of the creative memories, what we call the decorative punches. So these style of punches, the blue and white punches like this. If you have other punches you want to use, you might want to practice first to make sure the spacing works out. Just, keep that in mind. If this is your first time doing it, you may want to practice on a piece of scrap cardstock or something else to do the spacing. One thing you can do, I'm going to tell you this, is you can take just a piece of cardstock, maybe the cover sheet of our paper packs, and you can do several different punches to get a feeling. So maybe I want to see, does the B work? And I could do, 2 or 3 B's spaced around. Then I want to switch over. Hey, what do I think of the camera love punch? Let me punch that out and see what, or maybe you're doing a wedding one and you want to use wedding bells. How are they going to look next to each other? You could space a few more. So if you do a circle, you can make a circle out of the cardstock and do some test punches to see what you think, that type of stuff. So, then what we get to go here is so after you've decided your punch, you don't have to add the accent pieces if you don't want. I could have left the B silhouettes without it. Some of the punches, I think the silhouettes can be maybe a little ambiguous, right? The B punch, it looks like a bug, but by putting the actual punch next to it, it worked just fine. It shows you it's the B. The bells might be the same situation when you might want to punch it, and then you're still going to want to use the bells in there for an accent. So you can have the silhouette, but also come in here in between with the bells itself. But you need to practice and see, because the bells, the spacing might be a little bit different on how the bells work. You can get the silhouettes punched, no problem. The spacing for the in-between might be a little different. Maybe you're going to have to place your spacing, your bells a little bit differently. All right, so I had to see a question about using the border maker system or the border punches. So yes, you can use those. It's a different effect though. If you use the border system in the round, the spacing that we're going to talk about today, the 30-degree marks that we will be using, you would use with the blue and white punches. It's kind of a separate thing to go to use the border system, because usually when we're doing that, we're actually modifying the edge. When we're using these punches, we're going to leave the solid edge, the circle, and we're just mostly punching the decorative pieces here. So that's probably a whole nother handout that I'll need to make for how to do the border punches in the round. Okay, so let's get started. I can put my background paper away. I don't need it right now. I did pull in some orange shimmer that I have available if I want to use it. So we will go ahead and get started. I have my 12 by 12 mat here. If you do not have your borders, or you don't have your jumbo circle marked, you can use, there are markings on your mat that we will be able to use. Before we dive too far into this, I will say on your mat, you want to pay attention. You have 0, 30, 60, and 90. Those are the ones that we're going to be paying attention to. Ultimately, you're going to be making what looks like a clock face. There's going to be 12 punches. If you think of this as noon, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And then of course, 1, 2, 4, 5, and so forth around. So to get started, you're going to want your jumbo circle and you're going to line it up. I always like to center my jumbo circle on the page. That gives me, I have then, even if I want to use that background piece for something else, I've shared projects before with how to use the leftover bits of the jumbo circle. So you can see here, I've got black marks at 12, 3, 6, and 9. I'm lining those up here with the 6 o'clock, the 6-inch markings. That's telling me I'm centered. And everything looks pretty good there. Now, if you're going to make a border, like a ring, so you can see here how I've got this ring. I cut this first with the blue blade, then came in with the green blade, and then cut with the red blade. That gives me 3 pieces. I have an outer ring, a middle ring, and then I have the circle itself. I did not want to use that center thin ring. That is why wasn't able to flip everything over. So I just wanted to use this outer ring. I didn't want to worry about the middle to give myself some separation between the yellow circle and the outer ring. For this one, because I'm going to use the yellow that's on the opposite side, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut with the blue, and then I'll cut with the red and have a thicker ring there. So you may or may not need to use the green blade. It really depends on how you want to do your punch. I actually like it with the thin ring, and I'm really debating. Maybe I do want just the blue, the yellow accent. Well, I'm gonna actually do all three. I will do, I'm gonna do all three. So I'm gonna start with the blue on the outside. And when you do your ring, you don't want to, when you go from blade to blade to blade, you're gonna go all the way around. And I'm not going to move my jumbo circle in between the cuts. So start here on the outside, go all the way around. I'm using the blue blade all the way around. Next, I'll use the green blade. And lastly, I'll come in with the red. I'm going to leave my circle in place. Pick up all my pieces. This outer piece I don't need. I can save it for another project, but this is for our use tonight. This is going to be scraps. I should have left this in place. It's not a big deal. If you move it, you can kind of get it positioned back. These other rings, I'm going to hold on to, set those aside. And I'll come back here and I'm just going to line my piece. That's the other two. If I do happen to move it, my next step is really, I'm just using my 30-degree marks to mark it. So if I happen to move my template, I can just use those pieces to line it back up. And now you're going to need a pencil. And I probably should have told you, and if you haven't done it already, we really should be working on the back side of this. Hold on just a second. Let me think. Yes, we need to work on the back side. So I'm going to flip this over. This is my back side. You need to flip it over. At this point, you can, line it back up. I apologize. I should have told you. I think step one, I do tell you in the written instructions, and I just forgot to follow it myself. But right now, at this point, all I really need to do is just make sure my circle is centered. Okay. So now what I need to do is I need to start marking every 30 degrees. So if I start here at 12 o'clock, and you can imagine, this is 12 o'clock. I've got my marking there. It's every 30 degrees. I can see a little bit of my 60-degree mark sticking out over here, but I've got my jumbo circle mark. So I'm going to come in next to my mark. I'm using a very light pencil. Every 30 degrees. So it will follow the clock. So I've got noon, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Now I need to use a light pencil mark here because remember, I am ultimately going to be using this side of the paper that I want to, I'm going to be using the cutout piece here. So I may have to erase a little bit of this pencil on this yellow because I'm going to have a duck punched out here. Now, the next step here is we want to go ahead and we're going to draw some lines, light pencil lines connecting those marks. You can go all the way from edge to edge. Make sure it's a very light pencil mark. You want to be able to see the pencil mark, but you want it to be light in case you need to erase. If you know you don't have to erase, if you know you're not using the cutout pieces, you can make it a little darker. I apologize if you probably can't see my pencil marks, but I promise you they're there. And you're just gonna go all the way around. You'll have to make 6 pencil lines because you're connecting 2 marks each time. And we do this because this is the easiest way to make sure our spacing is going to be even for the placement of the placement of all of our punches. You don't, so, okay. You probably don't need to completely connect them here in the middle. The reason why I'm going to tell you to connect them is normally, if I were to flip over the back side of, say, this punch, I can see right down the middle, right? This is the circle punch. I can see right down the middle when I put my paper in. But I'd only have to come down so far here. And I would be able to put my paper in, find the middle, and punch, right? I can see it. Now let me show you what it looks like with the rubber duck punch. I can tell you right now, it's not nearly as convenient. I can't see anything, right? These punches that have multi-pieces in them, you'll find the back side isn't as easy to see the middle. So that is why we want to extend our line down here, because this is where I talk about in step 6, and I tell you to mark the center of your punch. Now, Creative Memories makes this really easy because look, right here in the middle is one of these plastic fins, I guess. I don't know what you want to call them, these pieces here, but there's one that's right in the middle. And I'm going to take a Sharpie and I'm going to come down, and in my mind, I'm drawing a little goatee on my punch, right? You can imagine his little eyeballs are up here, and I'm going to draw a single, just a line there. I'm giving him the most pathetic goatee ever. And there's my middle. You may or may not need to do this with your punch. But if you're using a punch that is embossed, because you can see here with the bells, there's nothing really. Well, maybe the bells you do open it, there's more in there than I think. No, there's not much in those bells to see in there to know that you're in the middle. So you're going to rely on this outside line that you draw to line up in the middle. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up that pencil mark, or the Sharpie line, with my pencil mark. And I'm also going to double check that my punch is kind of, centered a little bit, because it's still, even if you line this up, you can still kind of be off. Like that's technically lined up, but it's not straight on the pencil line. You're going to use these outside edges, outside pencil marks. You should have one on each side, just outside the edge of the punch, and you'll have the one in the middle. And then you'll be able to punch. So there we go. You can see there in my, okay, I'm going to have a small issue. My duck punch is overly oily, and I thought I cleaned it out really well today. But apparently I didn't, because I'm going to have some oil residue. So it says this is a brand new punch for me. I had to. So what I found, what I'm going to do here really quick, I'm just using a paper towel and I am just tapping it. Imagine when you go to the dentist and they put those, you have a cavity filled in and they do that. I'm just tapping it along there, trying to get some of that oil off. I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper and punch it again. I was getting clean punches earlier. What I might need to do is I can punch a few extras from my scrap, or I could just grab some yellow cardstock. I want the yellow, but if I can't get it to work from these pieces, I will grab just yellow cardstock. And you just keep working your way all the way around. Yeah, that's a little, that came out better. And just could punch all the way around. So you make 12 punches. You could, if you wanted to, mix and match. All right. So If you wanted to, at least I'm pretty certain you could. I haven't actually tested it, so I don't have a sample to show you. But if you wanted to go with some ducks here, and maybe you wanted to do the sunshine punch, and then you want to come back with ducks, or I was thinking you could do the umbrella punch with the sunshine punch might be a good pair to do for something like an outdoor beachy theme. The other thing you could do is you could come in and do, I may actually have to use cardstock, because that's the only thing to think about on here. See how my ducks are going the opposite direction? I'm gonna have to use cardstock so that they can still all go the same way. Lots of little details. As you're working through your layout, you'll be able to kind of figure that out. Tessa, you said you were gonna make a sample. Are you making one?
No, I'm finishing my layout so I can show the peekaboo. So basically though, for yours, if they use symmetrical punch, and if not, they might have to punch out their design separately.
Well, if they don't use a symmetrical punch, or they use a punch that really feels like it needs to go both the same way.
When I make this later, I'm going to use the umbrella, so I will be fine. I think your bows would be fine.
Yeah, some of the
Someone said
things
they're using the anchor would be fine.
anchors be fine. The ducks is probably just a little bit of a, and maybe it would be fine once they get going. I'll see here whether or not I think that my ducks all need to go the same direction.
Don't your ducks need to be in a row though?
Yes, that is they're all in a row, but they can go different directions. One set of ducks going one way, one set of ducks going the other way.
How many days a week do you have all your ducks in a row, Megan? Only on
Can we
Monday?
talk about how many weeks out of the year, or how many days out of the year? Because I feel like it's a solid maybe 10%.
I'm like, I don't know how any day I have feel like my ducks in a row. So maybe it would be more appropriate for me to just have them going the wrong direction, because that's how I feel most of the time.
Yeah, that I agree that there's merit to that. So here you guys can see, oh, this cute little duck. See how they just magically appear? The duck silhouette works really, really well. By itself, it works great. So then I would come in and I have these rings that I can place. I can place a thin ring of yellow if I want to do that. And then if I wanted to, I could come back and do the blue. Now I am not gonna lie, these thin rings can be a royal pain in the rear end to work with. So if you're using thin rings, pack your patience. I would probably place the first ring, this yellow one first, and then I'll come in with the outside one once I get it placed and get the blue put on there. I'm not gonna do it right now because yeah, it's gonna take me a little bit of effort. I would use some repositionable adhesive on here and get those put on. The other option is I could leave the yellow out, and I could do just like I did on my sample, is just have a nice empty space there. So my ducks all would have to be going the opposite direction, which, maybe would be okay. You kind of lose the ducky feel, I think, because it starts to cover up their heads. So let me grab some yellow. Looking to see if I have any scraps. I think, well, let me see.
Does canary work? Or that looks darker?
I'm going to use this one, but I was going to use buttercup, but I think this might be lemon, or no, not lemon. I don't know what it is. Maybe canary has a little bit of a, well, let me look. Maybe it'll work okay. Maybe I'm being too critical of it. I think it has a little bit more of an orange undertone. I don't know. I'm going to use, see, now this is when I start to get picky, because maybe I just will use the canary. I have the most of it. I can obviously get more of it. I'll just use canary. It looks fine. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do is I need to punch 12 ducks. And then I'll be working on getting those in place there. So Tessa, I thought somebody asked you earlier, asked about how your organization is going.
Oh, it is going, as with everything in my life. It's slower. I do like little bits at a time, but I have pretty much all my stuff up there that would fit. After the retreat, I think I'll be able to turn my table and show you guys. Show you it. Once I get my ducks in a row after the retreat, I will, by the end of January, I think I can show it.
I was really hoping that you were going to have it all beautified by the time I got there.
Well, I have a couple of sticking points. I can't quite decide in the other parts of the room. And so you don't know it yet, but that's what you're going to help me figure out.
I was going to say, I'm coming
on
in for a
Monday.
consultation, right?
Yes. So on Martin Luther King Day, Meggan is going to be in here. I'm going to hold her hostage. Although I am going to take her to lunch. Do you know, I don't know if she's more excited about seeing me, which is a really fun event, right? Or there's a restaurant we have to go to when she comes to town. Any guesses?
Guys, it's not even like that fancy of it's Chili's. Okay, it's Chili's, but there's no Chili's in Washington unless you go to Spokane. I am just telling you, I really enjoy Chili's. I am a easy girl at heart, and I'm just super excited to go get some Texas cheese fries. That's all I'm saying.
I know the cheese fries, but you know what else they have that we can get, which is part of why I didn't go on Saturday. We got ice cream instead. Is Chili's has the cookie skillet.
Oh yeah, we got that
So
last time, didn't we?
We did, yeah, and we'll be getting it again.
So you guys can see, you just put your ducks or whatever punch it is, work it around. So they just go around. And if it, you can alter this. I mean, I can go, I don't have to put my ducks all right there. I can, adjust them if I need to, so I can see a little bit more. That's what I was talking about. Like, you may have to experiment with how you place your punches to make sure if you want to see that silhouette and you want to see, I'm gonna see a duck, if you want to see the other pieces. So play around with it a little bit. I don't have to add the ducks. If I don't want these additional ducks, if I just want to leave them there, I could do that. So something along those lines would be kind of what I'm going for. Imagine now that I'm going to bring in some of this yellow on the outside edge. The light yellow will come around here on the outside edge. You guys can't really see that. And then if I'm feeling really feisty with trying to get this last thin ring place, I'll have a light blue ring on the outer edge too. So I think that's going to work out really well. There you can kind of see how it's going to have that narrow yellow band there. So somebody say that they use their airplane and they had to put the airplane below the silhouettes. Yeah, there's lots of ways that you can do it to just work that in. You don't have to use, I think the samples that I have videos for on my the YouTube use the reindeer and the sleigh punch, and neither one of those, I didn't use the cutouts. They were just silhouettes because those ones work really well as silhouettes. Really quick while we're talking, I want to show you, and I'll finish putting that one together later. I wanted to talk about the silhouette because that's where we were saying what's going to make a good one to use. So here is the bows or the bells. So if I punch bells, by itself, and it's not bad, right? It's not bad at all. But here, and this one's oily too. I need to get my punches. But here you can see that putting that one next to it is going to be a nice option too. I'm a little too dark of a contrast there, but you kind of get the idea. The same thing for Camera Love. Camera Love by itself. And this one is going to punch backwards, or it's going to punch what feels like upside down. That's the other thing to watch. When I punch Camera Love, and it's stuck a little bit, you can see that the outline sometimes is, well, a little nondescript. You're like, what is that supposed to be? And that's where it comes in nicely if you're able to then work in the piece in between, depending on how you want to do that. So those are a couple of punches that I pulled that thought, well, maybe the silhouettes by themselves wouldn't be overly descriptive and you would want to use the punched out piece. You could punch out something different and put it in there. It really just depends on what you want to do. So overall, I think that is, you guys get the idea on doing these. I can't wait to see what punches. And that was the other thing too. So Tess and I had ulterior motives a little bit on this because we knew that you guys would come forth with all sorts of ideas, right? So we can see, what does this punch look like? What does that punch look like with this? And so we know you guys are going to be flooding the ideas and inspiration group with those punched in the round ideas and layouts you created. So everybody's going to get a little bit of an idea of, hey, how does this punch look? Oh, look, somebody made that that idea for me so I can see. I love how that works. So that's, you know, what the other thing was, is we knew that we get to see all sorts of different ideas. So there is somebody mentioned, Marty mentioned about you can use the ducks in, you know, I could not do what alternating spaces. Yes, I could put them at the even hours or the odd hours. I don't have to, I can still just use those ducks in other places. There's lots of ways you can continue on with this. It's really just to get you started with the technique, and you guys are going to take it away and do all sorts of great stuff with it. I'm looking forward to seeing all that. So that does bring us kind of to the next part of this, where we talk about, as we wrap things up here, what do you need to do next? Well, if you make a layout, we'd love to see it. We'd love to have you share it with us. On your handout, you will see the code here, and we want you to go ahead and share your layouts in the Facebook group, the Ideas and Inspiration group. Use the hashtag here. We will be drawing it. We'll be drawing that. So make sure you post it by January 17th. That is 1 week from tonight. And then we will be doing the drawing sometime within the next few days after the 17th. So just kind of post it by the end of day on the 17th. And then we'll get a drawing done. Use the hashtag. Little secret, if you share two separate posts, you share mine in one post, share Tessa's in another post, but hashtag them both, it's like you get 2 entries. So just keep that in mind. You do not have to have photos. They do not have to be creative memories, papers. We just want to definitely see that it was inspired by our layouts tonight. So, you know, if you have photos on there, great. If you don't, we understand. So I don't think there was is there anything else, Tessa, I'm forgetting?
Before we end the recording though, I do want to show the peekaboo flap.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah,
on video.
All right, let me switch back over to you. Oh, actually, I gotta find desk.
I think I'm on page 2 now. My phone went out.
Oh, I found you. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not quite done with it, but I know there's always questions about this. So if you can see it through the plastic, I did go ahead and added the blue half circles under there, which I'll take a picture of this without the plastic. It really pops. And then I went ahead and added a little bit of a border strip along there and edging. So I slid this into a top loading sleeve. And so I wanted to show you how I would do these multi peekaboos. So I wanted to flip open and flip down. And so that means I need to adhere this one first, the side one. So all the peekaboos that we have a little strip that you pull off, and then it makes this sticky. I'll line up down here. If you get it off center, like mine's a little low, they're very easy to pull up and put back down. So I have that on there to figure out where I want it. I have a real thin border, so I also want to make sure that I'm centered on that. And then I'm going to flap that open. And then I have my second one, and I'm going to pull off my strip. Love to stick to your fingers. And I'm going to adhere this one along the bottom on top of my top loading. So that will flap up, and then this will flap closed. And then I have this one too. This is a 4x4. We don't have them all the time. We have them from previous. I can either flip up or flip to the side. I'll probably switch this and go to the side, since I'm going to go to the side down here. And so then this will go to the side and it will flip down. And so I have 5 photos in one spot. And what that allowed me to do is have more of an open journal spot down here, and then I'll add some accent and stickers on the cameras down there. So get all your photos and the design element too. You do not mat the photos into the sleeves. They only fit a 4x6. There have been times when I've cut the photo down and mat it on a 4x6, and then it can slide in. There are also times when I run out of photos, maybe I want a peekaboo, I can slide in a 4x6 decorative one, just something that's decorative to open up to and fill in a spot also. So
I do a lot of matting I'll mat the photos and then slide them into the peekaboo. Just sometimes because I don't have as much space to get a nice mat. And it can be a little challenging if you're using just an 1/8 inch mat all the way around to get that peekaboo centered.
yeah, I'm gonna redo this when I can be on top of it. Yeah, the thicker mat is nice too, but I didn't originally think I was gonna do it. So. Okay, yeah, and then do you want to mention Winter Frolic?
Sure. You guys, many of you probably know that we are doing Winter Frolic now. It's our 8-week challenge. It started January 1st, but we're only 10 days into it, right? I will be sharing, we're technically halfway through week 2, meaning we've already shared a couple of challenge layouts. There's been a throwback layout shared. But this is all our winter challenge. Our Winter Frolic is all about keeping you motivated, keeping you creating, working on projects, getting through. We have people saying, hey, you're going to work on getting those albums completed, those that they've started. I have like 3 albums that I've started that I need to finish. So that's really what Winter Frolic is all about. We're trying to get through the long, dark days of winter. And so it's 8 weeks. It ends the end of February, but you guys can find out more about it on our website. There'll probably be a link to it in the email recordings or the email that comes out with the recordings. Patrice mentioned that. I was just going to tell you guys the February Power Hour, we're going to turn this around. What feels like maybe really quick, though January is kind of a long month, February 7th, because February 14th, you guys probably all have very exciting plans, maybe with a significant other or something loving to do that day. And then February 21st was just not, Tessa, you're not even
out there.
I guess we could have. No, because you'll be leaving that day.
Home. I'll be flying.
She's flying home. So February 7th is the next Power Hour. I'll get that put on Facebook today or tomorrow. So you guys can start just RSVPing that way. Of course, if you're already getting our emails, if you got the email for this, if you get our email tomorrow with this, you don't have to register. You are all registered for the next one. Anyone who somehow got to this without getting an email from us, you'll want to register. But yes, you can still get into Winter Frolic. That is all that information is available on our website at meggandtessa.com. And you can still get into Winter Frolic, definitely. We have a lot more planned. We're barely just into it. So it's a lot of fun. All right. If there's no more questions, I think we're all good. I will have this video shared a little bit later today on YouTube. And then I will have everything else, the handouts, or everything will be sent back out tomorrow. I think there's no revisions to the handouts, so we should be good to go.
Can I ask a question this way?
Sure.
When you cut your circle out, how do you keep it from not moving?
You have to put pressure down on the paper. You have to make sure it's, you have to go slowly, and you just have to keep pressure down on your mat, on your circle. So it might take some practice. If you're not super confident with it, I would use it on some scrap paper first. The jumbo templates do take a little bit to get used to, especially when you're wanting to cut those thin rings. If you are not experienced cutting the thin rings, I would skip the green blade, start with the blue blade, then go to the red blade and just do those 2.
Okay.
All right.
That's what I messed up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can
All
I
right.
can I ask a Winter Frolic question on this?
Sure.
When you're posting on the Winter Frolic, can you post things from these events on the Winter Frolic? Or I have an issue about posting. What do you actually post on the Winter Frolic?
So if you are in the Winter Frolic group, you certainly can post things from tonight in there, but what's here tonight can be shared in the Ideas and Inspiration group. So the kind of the bigger group it's not a public group, it's a little more private, but it is not an exclusive paid for event group. The Winter Frolic, definitely what you want to share in there are our challenge layouts. You want to share our throwback layouts in there. Those are definitely places that you only want to share those layouts in Winter Frolic, not into ideas and inspiration. So we will, we'll make sure we clarify that a little bit more in the Winter Frolic group on where, like what to share, but things from Power Hour tonight, you are more than welcome to share into ideas and inspiration. If you prefer to only share it in a smaller environment, you want to do it part of Winter Frolic, you certainly can share it there. But the drawing will be done out of ideas and inspirations, just so you know. So our Winter Frolic attendees, please, if you want to be in the drawing with the hashtag, please post it in the ideas and inspiration group. All
And is
right.
it subtitle Ideas and Inspiration? Is that the subtitle of the group?
It's the green, it's it says ideas and Tessa, what does it say at the top?
It's scrapping ideas, inspiration, and the link is always in our email tomorrow.
Okay.
So you'll be able to
Thank-
link into it tomorrow if you're not a member.
Thank you.
I saw a question about the hashtag. The hashtag for this month is January 2023 PH. It is always on our handout. I think just below the supplies or generally up in the upper corner, you'll see it. So you want to share it there. So, all right. Any other questions that we can answer for you? All right. Sounds great. Everybody have a wonderful evening, and we will definitely see you all on the 7th of February. We hope to see several of you in Winter Frolic. All right. Everybody have a great night. Thanks for joining us.